Hey guys, thanks for subscribing. Be sure to like and comment on this video. So today, our transit talk is all about Mercury going direct. Very exciting stuff. If you guys have seen the Mercury retrograde video, there's going to be a lot of themes that repeat themselves. Oftentimes, like things in our life repeat themselves when Mercury is involved. So think of it as like Mercury giving us a second chance to redo something, to return something, to kind of go back and say, I was wrong. I really didn't feel that way. I was lost in the moment. I didn't speak up for myself. I really wasn't in the right frame of mind. That kind of energy happens when Mercury is in retro. And so when it goes direct, we feel this big shift that finally we can think clearly, we can speak as, we're receiving stuff. Like, how in normal conversation you just say exactly, the thoughts that are coming into your head. But when the retro is in there, it's almost like our mind is so preoccupied with other things and with just not being present as much that we have a hard time tuning in or tapping into the conversations that are happening. And that can really confuse people, and it can cause some friction, and it can also cause us to not accomplish what we set out to do. So this is a very, very significant planet. That is why there is so much hoopla about Mercury retrograde, because it does affect a lot. It's basically our way of life, our daily life, our routines, our work environment, how we stay organized. So when it's in retro, it's very hard for us to kind of manage our life and our to-do list and what, we should be getting done. It's kind of like our existential chore wheel. And sometimes there are some months and some weeks where when it's in retro, it's like we're just ignoring it altogether. We don't want to do any of it, so think of it as, like your spiritual, like, what's the focus kind of a thing, because it's where you put your mind and your mental focus really, really shapes kind of the essence of what's going on around you and how you're communicating to others, how you're connecting. So this is a very exciting opportunity. Just because Mercury is direct does not mean that everything is light and fluffy now and enjoyable. There's a lot of deep work to still do. And so, in 2020, we're still revving up for 2021. I mean, this has been such a test of a year, to really get us in line with the future and to see, like, are we ready to even take the first few steps to get there? And overwhelmingly, I certainly feel like we are. The majority of us are, and that's really going to reflect a lot in this election. That's come into some pitfalls and reasons behind that, because you're like, oh, Mercury's going direct. Why don't we have the voting results? Because that seems very Mercury oriented. Half of them are from mail-in ballots, and it's about counting and staying on top of the busy work. And it's very Mercury oriented emphasis in this election. And what is going on is there is this thing called the shadow phase. Whenever we look at a planet going through a retrograde or coming out of one, and it's stationing to go direct, there is still basically a 1 to 2 week period where the effects still pervade from the retrograde. And so it's almost like this, like, imagine like you are kind of in like a rubber band, like almost like your body or soul or whatever has this rubber band around it. And so you can only move a certain amount of distance before you're pulled back. And the retrograde is like, it retracting, and pulling you kind of away from the progress or the road that you were on, you got so far. And there's this retraction that happens. And, when we go back, it's almost like going out of the shadow phase is us trying to release ourselves from the rubber band altogether. You know what I mean? So it's not an easy feat, and you can kind of feel that pull happening mentally where you're just like, I feel like we're getting there. I'm just not quite where I need to be, to where I can keep doing the work with, a good amount of focus, less distractions, where I can say the things that are on my mind without second guessing myself, where I just don't trip over my words as much, or I don't hesitate to send a message or a reply, because that stuff is very, very common when we're looking at Mercury retro. So I would say around the 10th, November 10th would be kind of the time where you can expect for this direction to really, really take off. So we're in the last couple of days of it, and sorry, not the 10th. The 10th is when it's moving into Scorpio. So we've reset back into Libra in the last few degrees, and the significance of that is we need people in our lives and those deep connections to project us forward into the future. And, we aren't as strong unless we have, bigger numbers. And so we need people to join us in this call for action, this call for evolution. It's a lot harder to do it on your own. And so I think Mercury and Libra, rewinding back to that, is like, okay, these are the people I'm joining forces with. This is my tribe. This is my whatever. And I feel more strength going back into this Scorpio energy, as Mercury will be moving back into Scorpio on November 10th. And, that is a very, very challenging energy to work with, because it pushes us to our hardest points so that we can transform, so that we can become anew, that we can almost rebirth our ideas in the way we communicate. So there's already a lot of talk over, using modern pronouns for people, changing gender stigmas, changing how we connect with like Zoom calls and stuff, like technology being such a huge focus now with stay-home times, changing how we are approaching COVID-related safety practices and treatments, and maybe we're even going to get news about a vaccine soon. Mercury and Scorpio, something, developing in that area. Mercury is the sign of health. So wherever it is really shows you what everyone's focus is in regards to that. And so that means that everybody is being challenged right now to really shed some old unhealthy habits in their lives, and to, really, really try their hardest to be at their best. And it's not just a physical health, but a mental health as well, because if we constantly, if we're not in sync with our physical form and our mental form, that disconnection almost alters how we move throughout the world, and it can really intercede how people trust you, how they relate to you, if your actions are not in line with your words. And so that's the ultimate like possible fuckery of Mercury, is like saying one thing and meaning something else when it's not working well. And so we're trying to develop to understand, what's going on in the world, and to be able to communicate it is extremely important, because if we're not able to put a name to something or an idea, if we can't voice it, then it holds less power. If we hold on to stuff internally, it does more damage. It doesn't do any good. We need this vehicle to release, to emit something. And so with Mercury, you know, we need to get the word out. We need to voice, you know, what is wrong with the world, what is not working. You know, now is a time, Mercury and Scorpio, we're going to find out even more stuff going on because Scorpio is the darker aspects. It's the things that we have protected out of fear. So during this next month, pretty much all of November, as Mercury moves through Scorpio, we're going to be finding out even more. I know you guys have been like, what else could 2020 have to show us? You know what I mean? Like, what else, really? I mean, really. It's that like SNL Weekend Update where it was like Amy Poehler and Seth something, Seth Meyers. He would go, really, really, really? You know, they would just keep asking that a lot. And that's very much like Mercury and Scorpio is like, oh my God, there's more to this shit show. But the more we find out, the closer we are to getting closure, to moving past, you know, all of this stuff that still holds potential damage, because if it stays hidden, it always holds this ability to counteract our progress. And so think of it as like, the more you know, the better off you'll be. It doesn't feel great in the moment to learn things, to find out things that maybe you've even been willfully ignorant about. But the sooner it happens, the better. And so if that's one tidbit I have, because Mercury and Scorpio is not an easy transit. I'm not gonna lie, even though it's going direct, it is what we need. But anytime we get Scorpio or Pluto energy, it pushes us past our breaking point. It pushes us to, you know, evolve. And there's no sense of an evolution that is easy. You know, and so that's why we need to find strength in numbers. We need to find people that are going in the same direction as us so that we can have people to voice our concerns to without being judged or without being contradicted. You know, we need people on the same page as us, and Mercury and Scorpio does support that. It supports, you know, healthy communication, like, you know, people stepping in when you need them to. That's what it's all about. You know, hearing that one thing that you need to hear from the stranger at the market in the checkout line, or, you know, having a really important conversation with a family member and there wasn't any disconnect. You know, it happens like almost seamlessly. Like, that's the kind of stuff when Mercury's working well, you know, that it supports us in doing. And so we can expect more of that now that it's out of its retro. But I would say probably mid-November is when we're going to see that really, really take off into where we're like, okay, we're back on track with things. And I think even around then, Mars will be coming out of its retro, and Neptune, I think, soon after. So really, December, January is going to be the time where we're like, oh my God, like the future is really coming. It's happening, you know, and we're just getting this last shed of energy of how do we rid ourselves of toxic habits, you know, toxic beliefs. That's a really big one when we look at Neptune, you know, and just the way we've been doing things for so long is at this huge turning point. And that's why, you know, Pluto has come in such a big fashion and really shown us how far off we were, you know, and we're realigning. We're like, okay, there is so much more we could be doing, you know. So yeah, not easy stuff, but great stuff. And I have high hopes that we're going to find the support that we need with this transit and going forward through the month of November into December. And it's got a while till its next retrograde. So it's great that we have Mercury back on our side. You guys hopefully have found some really good pieces of yourself through this retrograde period that still needed some work, that still needed, like, you had to check your ideas, like, or other people have checked them for you and been like, no, you're still not where you should be on this issue. Or, you know what I mean? Like, you could be doing better, like you could be doing more, you could be working harder, you could be more organized, like all of these things, could be communicating more clearly. So, let's see what this pure energy of Mercury through Scorpio is going to look like for each of the signs. And yeah, let's kind of see how it's going to be affecting you a little more personally, going through, your sun sign. If you want to watch this for your rising, you may even get a more accurate, like, because that's where it's literally going to show in your chart. If you watch Mercury's movement, it's going to be more close to where your rising is, but your sun gives you an indication, almost like kind of a horoscope, as to the focus. So yeah, let's get started with Aries. This is in your 8th house, so Mercury in Scorpio for Aries. Let's see. Okay. All right, so you guys are running into some real work stuff, like there's some bad habits. There is something that's pulling you back, where you guys have been pushed to realign yourself with where things are headed. There's almost like this chain on you that's pulling you back, and you're just like, I don't feel as comfortable doing and saying these things as the people around me are. If there's a specific person that you're tied to, maybe even some Capricorn energy that you feel is challenging you, well, that's very much true, because your planet is still squaring Saturn. And what I didn't say about Mercury going direct is that Mercury is still squaring Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. And so that's also why, we don't have this great shift happening just yet. It's not going to be until we fall out of alignment with that square that we really feel the power of Mercury, and, just getting back in touch with ourselves and our truth. But Capricorn in reverse, you may even feel like this sense of like being cursed or being confined. Like there are a lot of restrictions on you, a lot of expectations. And a lot of times this has to do with work, because this is Capricorn's card, which rules the career. But, this can also be relationships too. If you feel like this pull back to somebody, in your life that you've been with, it's coming in pretty hard and pretty unhealthy. Like, I think, at this point, how deterring it is from your purpose. It's really, really, I just got this weird feeling in my stomach too. Like you can feel it physically affecting you too. So really, really be careful with any old habits. I mean, I know you guys are still in your retro with your ruling planet, but, try to at least see where the poison is, what is holding you guys back, because you love your independence. You don't like to be told what to do. This is a very uncomfortable card for you to get, that you have to commit to something, or that this could even feel like a karmic cord that needs to be cut, like something of a spiritual nature, where you just continually are afflicted by somebody's energy and you just don't know how to get rid of them, like almost like a psychic vampire in a way, like someone that just really doesn't mean well for you. That doesn't mean that they are all of the problem. It's also you too. So you have to make sure you're taking responsibility for that, and that it's not a good union altogether. But yeah, so get clear on that, especially any sexual stuff may be picking up for you guys, because this is in your 8th house. So who you're connecting with right now is not, it's not the person, it's not the one. So really, really be more selective and careful about that. Taurus, let's see, 7th house, relationships. So if you felt very worn out about keeping up the chats going, keeping the conversations, the connections, that was Mercury retro. You know, it's almost like maybe you have like the initial connection or you got matched with somebody, but then, you know, you lose the steam very quickly. You're just like, oh well, you know, whatever. And it takes a lot for you guys to really move in any direction. And so, you know, when you get that extra push of like unnecessary movement, you're just like, I would just rather not, you know, altogether. So getting back on track, you will find that these conversations are picking up and they're becoming a lot more exciting and engaging, and probably pushing you to the point of physically connecting too. I mean, we are in Scorpio season, so let's see what Mercury direct has to say. Whoa, oh yeah, I love this. High Priestess and King of Swords. So very intuitive and intellectual capabilities here. You know, seventh house rules the feminine. You know, High Priestess energy stepping in and aligning with your emotions. And so, and then King of Swords giving you all the ideas that can really allow you to process what you've been feeling. Finally, you've been maybe confused, maybe doubtful, maybe extremely emotional up and downs, and just like, I don't know where this stuff is coming from. These two cards are really supporting you and like understanding what has happened up to this point, and really centering you. You know, like High Priestess is like becoming more emotionally aware again, you know, where maybe we've been discarding some of that because of Mercury confusion. We don't really understand things, you know, as quickly as we do before. But King of Swords, there may even be a man or just a masculine person in your life stepping up with a lot of answers and some really interesting viewpoints that maybe haven't occurred to you yet. And you may be keen on receiving some advice during this transit. You know, somebody that can really match you in your intellect and wants to help, you know, like it's not very misguided. Maybe, you know, the ideas are a little more far out there than what you would normally be comfortable with thinking. But, you know, hear them out. They have some things that they really want to say, and Mercury is all about these conversations. And so you guys are well set up to have some very enlightening ones that'll actually allow you to understand things in a much bigger way than your own life. You know, King of Swords is like finding a place in the sky to give you this huge vantage point. So you'll almost feel like you're going to be looking at like, you may even be like trying to climb places, trying to hike, get to a bigger vantage point literally, so you can understand what's going on the ground and internally. So really stepping outside of yourself and being so physical, which you guys are all the time. It's more about stepping into your intuition right now, and yeah, letting go of some of that practical, logical stuff that can be this buffer or restrict you from like really understanding, you know, what signs the universe is trying to give you. So that'll be an interesting one, you know, to have. So that will be really challenging how you guys think and how you guys connect with your world. And that's really what Mercury and Scorpio is all about. It's evolving, it's becoming better. Okay, so Gemini, let's see here. Mercury direct Gemini. Oh, yes, this is a good Mercury card. So Six of Cups, we feel like we're going back to school. We've got some lessons that we want to learn and some people that want to teach us. You guys are finding some fondness in your love life. You know, Mercury starting back out in Libra into Scorpio is a very much intimate, romantic transit to have. And so you're connecting with somebody that really makes you feel good, makes you feel appreciated, and, you know, is stimulating. You know, you want someone that can keep the conversation going with you because you have so much to say. And this is somebody that really wants to hear you out, you know. this is a really nice thing. This could even be somebody from your past, but it looks like this reconnection is something that is going to make you feel warm again, is going to make you feel heard, which you guys really need if you feel like that retrograde was so daunting. Like you could really feel like you just weren't yourself at all, you know, like it was a complete 180 from who you usually are. And it was a really, really heavy one. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to say that like daily I was questioning what I was doing, and that's like a really big thing to admit, but that's how big that little planet, that's the effect it can have on us. Like it really is that important. It's the closest to the sun, and the sun is who we are. And so that's why when it's in a retro, it really can change the direction of things in a big way. And so yeah, but it's nice to see reconnecting from somebody from your past can actually be a healthy thing, because I think oftentimes when we do tarot, it pulls up Five of Pentacles, or, you know, something that is just like, ooh, you know, it's in the past for a reason. But this Mercury and its truth is about keeping connections going, you know, throughout life. And so even though specifically Gemini likes to keep going and likes a variety of people, you often don't see them like quit anyone entirely. And so you guys have the capacity to keep evolving in slow ways your relationships, because you're always looking to learn, to teach, and to grow. And that's not as in bigger ways as maybe some other signs, but those little adjustments, those little lessons, you know, really do make it worthwhile being around you. Okay, so Cancer. Let's see here. So, who dis? Knight of Cups in reverse. Somebody's really, really giving the hots for you during this. You know, Mercury in Scorpio is your 5th house, you know, so that's love affairs, that is indulgences, you know, they call it the pleasure house, quote unquote. And so you're connecting to your naughty side, and ultimately it can feel like a good release, or it seems like something that you need, but is it the right person? You know, it's not so much the act, unless you are doing this like behind closed doors when you're already in a committed relationship. That's another concern. But yeah, like, you know, you're just unclear about what this person is offering you. But they do have your attention, you know, and yeah, so just kind of get right on this. See, you know, is there bullshit spewing, or are they like serious about their intentions? Because, you know, how you guys latch onto people, when your crab claw like pinches something, you don't want to let it go. It can be very hard for you to let something go. And so you have to be very cognizant of what your intuition is telling you about the person, and trusting that. You know, you guys have emotional clarity, and so, you know, use it when you're unsure about somebody. Now, again, Mercury won't be fully direct until mid-November, so give it some time. If you see like there is a lot of potential, or it is a good thing, you know, maybe you don't have to call it quits or call it something until then. So just be a little aware of that. Leo, let's see here. Whoa, really fast. Okay. Leo. Okay, so we are feeling a little lost. You know, the work stuff is just, it's a lot harder than we think, you know. It seems like we pick up some work or something, and then it's just not, it's not stable for us. You're just like, I don't know where this is going. I mean, I feel like any opportunity is good opportunity, but you just can't muster up the strength to really give it your full go, your full effort. And that's something that we usually do see with Leos when we have that loyalty, that investment in something, we really don't let it go. We just try and just give it our best shot. And right now, we just don't feel that way. You know, Mercury going direct isn't a bad thing for us, but it's happening in our fourth house, which is almost like our house of sickness. But when we're looking at a planet that is intellectual or mental, we're thinking of our mental health here. And so we're just not in a very stable place mentally, because there is so much work that we need to do, and we just don't know where to direct the energy. We don't know what should we be taking seriously, what should we be prioritizing. We almost need somebody to step in and be like, I need to help you manage your life right now and to get things in order, because you just can't keep going in such a indirect fashion, you know? Yeah, and so Scorpio season also brings us some opportunities with work, you know, transforming, getting stuff like that, but we don't really know where to plant our future. We're just like, we feel very much like, I don't know, things could change tomorrow and it could be completely different. That's the degree of uncertainty that, you know, we are feeling right now. And that can make us feel very lost. Like, we just don't know what our purpose is. And so, you know, it takes us really having open eyes and ears, and Mercury, you know, connecting us to people that can help us find opportunities, you know, things of that nature. And so, you know, you're not alone. Don't think that you are, just because maybe you're not happy or you just don't feel like anything is worth your time, you know, and maybe just the money just isn't coming in the way you hoped it would. Give it some more time. It's still working itself out. Once we get to Sag season, we'll really see things increase in a great way, but we do have to keep, you know, trudging through the mud. And the Scorpio season, you know, makes it very, you know, it's almost like a noir film. It's not the most exciting, and there's a lot of danger lurking in every scene, but you're still the main character. You're still have this glow about you, and this will to overcome the antagonisms that present themselves. And so, you know, just keep going. You know, you are still center stage and people look to you. So if you feel like maybe you just haven't felt inspired, or like you're really helping anybody, find ways to do that, to give back, or to, yeah, make yourself more accessible, because maybe that'll give you that sense of purpose that you need. Okay, so Virgo, third house. So Mercury direct for Virgo. What have we got here? Oh, lots. Okay. So this is exactly what I was talking about for Leo, giving back. You know, this is great for you guys. This is going to promote some balance, some much needed give and take. Not necessarily a relationship card, but this is one where you are accessing your inner humanitarian. You are maybe putting things into perspective for people, checking their ideas, being like, no, I don't think you really understand what you're saying right now, things like that. And so, you know, it's in a very big house for this transit. So Mercury in the third, that's its home. So you guys are very well capable of doing it all, you know, and we like to see this duality with Mercury here, because there's two people, or there's two energies. There's somebody that does have the means and someone that doesn't. And so, you know, being both sides of that, you know, you're really finding this balance that it's sometimes hard to get when we look at Mercury. So you can kind of see both ways, you know, which way leads to that and which will lead to that, you know. So maybe your conspiracy theories are coming in about how the election's going, or what 2021 holds in store for us. And yeah, people want to listen. People, you know, really, this isn't just about like giving people money, but this is also valuable ideas when we're looking at Mercury, you know, like this is like really sage advice, which you guys love to give. You love to help. You can be very long-winded. And so it can take you maybe a little longer to really get your point across to where you feel like you've been thorough enough and checked all the boxes or all the possibilities. But yeah, you're very well supported for this transit. I think you guys are going to handle it well. Lots of connections coming in. I mean, there were 3 people in that card alone. And so, you know, there's lots of convos going around. Transportation issues, if you've had any with Mercury retro, things should be getting a little better towards mid-November. You know, you should be able to get where you want to go if you've like second guessed like how healthy your car is, or your, you know, your bus route, or everything like that. You know, that's Mercury and Scorpio. We're reassessing how we get around and you know, how we communicate. And so we are finding new ways or new opportunities to do that. So it kind of brings out this mini explorer in us before it moves into Sag season, which is very much like, let's take the most unique routes, the most scenic ones, where, you know, there's so many things that can happen. We want that spontaneity. So if you've had anxiety overdrive, that's because it was happening in your 3rd house, which is double the double of Mercury. And so you should be getting a little better with that stuff. And yeah, I think that's good. Scorpio, let's see here. Oh wait, Libra, I can't skip you guys. So Libra, 2nd house. Mercury going direct for you guys in your 2nd house of foundation, of structure, of money. Oh yeah, the same card. Whoa. So we've got some really cool ones here, and it all looks pretty healthy. Look at this, you guys. You know, you may have some like real big home life stuff taking off here, like in your relationships. You know, if you've been really stuck on the fence about like how much your partner is contributing, you know, you are feeling a lot better about it now that Mercury is direct. Now things are balancing back out. We have a few days Mercury in Libra before it moves into Scorpio. And so you're like, okay, you know, it's give and take. We see both sides with Mercury. So it's not just one person's responsibility, it's both. So this is great. I mean, you've got a lot going on with this many cards showing up. So it's going to be a busy month for you. But this is like really stuff that this is like your natural energy presenting right here. Like this is very familiar. The Hangman is the only one that really, is ever the concern, even though it is in a good position. You know, being stuck on like, am I in the right place with the right person? You know, that can be very hard. Even if like great things are happening, there's this sense like you're tying yourself to one situation. So for someone that is so error-oriented, that doesn't always feel great. That feels like you're limiting yourself. But if they're doing their equal share and they are really helping you where you need help and vice versa, if they're really meeting you in the middle, this is a great thing. Because I feel like this is a very positive energy presenting right here. So if you guys are getting involved with the political stuff going on, or with fundraising, you know, do it. It looks like it's going to be just what you need right now to give you this sense of, you know, justice, but, you know, it's also just very rewarding, and you'll connect to people that really make you feel good at the same time. So great balance there. Scorpio. Okay, so Mercury going direct in your sign. Yes, she is sharp. So you guys are really the ones that are going to be showing us, you know, what we've been doing wrong, what is, I mean, almost holding us back. You know, this is like, okay, if you say it, then show me that you mean it. You know, this is like coming up. Like the queens aren't as active as the kings. The kings like the limelight. They like to be on display, be in their power, have people depend on them. But the queens are more personal. So in some ways, they are a little more powerful when it comes to your close environment, the people that really matter in your life, your surroundings. And so Queen of Swords is like approaching the home life in a much more intellectual, connecting way. You're just like, okay, we're gonna divvy out a chore list, or we're gonna get right on finances. We need to have these conversations that we haven't been having. We need to find common ground. And with anything that is unjust or not right, you guys are going to quickly jump onto it and be like, no, this needs to happen. So it's a good thing. I wouldn't say it's the most enjoyable energy, but like you have this really good balance of emotions and communication with this transit happening. And so yeah, this is your first house as well. And so that means that whenever something is in your first house, that means the energy is presenting very focused, very strong. And so you are having a lot of communication, a lot of connecting. There's a lot of people that will be stepping in this next month for you. And even ones that you've been with in the past, you've talked to in the past, because again, Mercury never fully leaves anybody. They come back in cycles, just like as quickly as Mercury goes into retrograde, you know what I mean? Like we go through these repeating patterns with people in our lives, and you guys are becoming a lot more aware of those patterns and how you even talk to yourself and others. And like Mercury in Scorpio isn't the most direct energy. I mean, look at her. She's facing sideways. She's not giving you her full attention. And just like that, you guys can feel like you can only give people a certain amount. Like you can't give anybody your full focus right now or anything that you're doing, because there is so much preoccupying you. But it's all good stuff. You guys are really turned on by this season, and that you have a lot to do. And so, your attention is very meandering. And so don't really commit to anything, or, you know what I mean? Like, hold yourself to like, okay, I'm definitely going to be there by this time. Oh, okay, I can do that. I can bring that. Try to find less things to happen, because you guys have a lot on your plate. So, all right, Sagittarius. Mercury direct, stepping in your 12th house. Okay. Yep. It's a house of worries, of fears. So no surprise. 9 of Wands. You're thinking about like, can I really do all of this? I mean, there's so much on my plate. Like, with Scorpio, finding balance, you guys you're not handling it well. And you've even turned to some like people from your past, and maybe that's where the apprehension is coming from, is because that now there's kind of a weed in your life, or a few that need to be plucked, and the anxiety is really kicking in for you guys. And so you have to tell yourself, like, I love variety, I love experience, but that doesn't mean that every experience is gonna be good for you. That every person, however fun they can be, you really have the time for, and you don't right now. Like, this is a lot going on, and yeah, I'm just afraid like you just can't keep this momentum going. I mean, this is the burden card, so like this person coming back into your life, you can feel like you almost owe them something, like they still hold power over you, or there's a commitment that you agreed to a while back. But it can just feel like a karmic bond, like you have to make space for this person again. And, I really don't think that that's true. That's a story that you're telling yourself. And so, they may have that energy and they present it to you where you're just like, okay, I guess they're back, you know. But they don't have to be. They do not have to be back. You know, you guys don't like constraints. Anything that impedes your independence, you know, should get your attention. And so maybe finding the way to tell this person like, hey, I just don't have time to hang out. You know, I don't, you're like beating around the bush because you just don't want to be too direct with them that it hurts them. But I think with Mercury stepping in, we are having those conversations that are like, hey, you can't be in my life anymore. You know, hey, like it's just not working. You know, be a little more honest and be more direct, because if you don't, you're only delaying this inevitability of like there being more confusion, more frustration. You know, you're giving yourself more work until you deal with this. And so let's see how we can do it. I mean, clearly you have a lot going on, so I don't think they'll be able to, you know, misunderstand that. So let's see, Capricorn, this is your 11th house, so Mercury going through there. Big connections far and wide, you know, very, very tech heavy transit and month for you guys. You could be having some issues on like, do you agree with other people's viewpoints, you know, ideas, things like that. I want to even some love stuff here. King of Cups in reverse and the Sun, very playful but emotionally destabilizing energy. So really watch out, you know, with your romantic concerns, you know, during this transit. You know, Scorpio can actually bring out people that aren't healthy for us, that are keeping us in the dark in our lives because we can't come forward about being intimate with them if we're already in a relationship, or maybe it's an ex that we haven't let go of. And so this King of Cups in reverse is very common, I feel like, for these Scorpio transits. And this is somebody that, you know, when you push them, when you ask them to commit, they're going to get very defensive, even manipulative, and maybe you feel a little elated or a little, you know, jovial with this person. Like they do bring out like a childish nature in you that you don't get to experience very often, being such a serious sign, that it's kind of a nice change of pace. But it seems like this person actually is quite selfish and can, you know, really find ways to manipulate you and to not be held accountable. And so, you know, you guys usually have a very stern awareness over people in your lives, over situations, and you opt to like say no or to put restrictions on them, but you've really let down your guard with this person, and now they actually have the room to kind of mess with you, you know? And so this is really interesting to see. You guys are becoming more receptive to experiences and maybe even adventure right now, with Jupiter being really close and Pluto. You're really changing a lot about yourself this year. I mean, you guys are experiencing it first and foremost before we move into Aquarius, and they're going to be getting this huge shift in consciousness. And yeah, and so somebody that's not good for you, you know, as fun as they make it, like it's very much it's almost like too much of a good thing, you know what I mean? Like can be detrimental to you and your health. So really see like where you're indulging a lot, and how, you know, this emotional manipulation, what is it doing to you personally? You know, because especially if this is somebody new, you need to let them know right away, like you're not going to play that game with them. Like they're not going to hold that power over you. Okay, Aquarius. Mercury direct in your 10th house. So this is a big career thing for you guys, okay? So Judgment. So big card, you know, you guys do have a lot of tough decisions. You know, 10th house really concerns, excuse me, long-term things like even contracts, agreements. You know, this is stuff that really does, it can shift your life depending on what you choose, but you do have the power. And I know that you know what's best for yourself. You know, Judgment is supporting you in this. It can feel like you're being watched very closely, like people are even criticizing you in some ways. That's very Mercury and Scorpio, is kind of this cynical, kind of darker way of communicating, you know, that's not necessarily enjoyable or lighthearted. It's very serious. And so the things that we have to say right now do carry weight, and they are serious. Just like the decisions that we're making, which Mercury does have a small emphasis in that. And yeah, so, you know, really there's some choices that are coming up, or one really big one that you're just waiting, you're just being patient, you're just like, okay, I think I've done all I can, and now I need the results. And it's almost like, you know, kind of the election. It's like we're all waiting for that, whatever, that one story or that you know, meme that's going to like enlighten us about like the truth of it all, or tell us what's happening. And so we feel like this almost kind of like a limbo effect. I mean, like even the people in this card, they're grayed out and they're not a natural skin tone. You know, if you have like being put to sleep in a way, like you've kind of gone into your chamber and you're waiting to be called on. It's almost like you're like in school, and you know how like you're being picked for teams, like you are still waiting and waiting as like other people get picked and picked again, and you're just like, okay, when is it coming to me, you know? So that can be a very anxiety ridden experience, but yeah, you will have your answer soon enough. I know it's hard to sit with this, especially probably till mid-November, because you know, that's again Mercury not going direct. It's not going to be clear if it does present itself right away, and so you'll still feel like, okay, they gave me their answer, but I still don't know, was this message supposed to be sent, or you know, whatever. But the 10th house can take a long time for something to change, and so I feel like that's why there's a real stretch here. So stay calm, stay confident. Yeah, and just maybe use this time to even rest, to put some of your worries to bed, because you've done everything that you can now. So that in itself is somewhat of a relief. All right, last but not least, Pisces. So your 9th house, Mercury moving through there. So any vacation plans, you're probably getting back and, you know, hitting the ground running again. If you've had to hang some of those up during the retrograde period where you're just like, I just can't do this, or it's not the right time for my friend to go with me, and so you had to put it on hold. Well, maybe now they're coming back again. Yes, exactly. Knight of Wands. This is a really big travel card. So exciting stuff here. You guys look really good, very fashionable. Maybe you've spent some money on yourself, and you also have a lot to say. I mean, the 9th house boldens and emphasizes everything and makes it bigger. And so when we're looking at Mercury going through there, that means that we are using our voice a lot more. We have a lot more to express, a lot more to write, to connect to people far and wide, and you guys are doing just that. Like, your words are traveling. So you know, really want to be the person that people are looking to for not necessarily advice, but you've got like this magnetic factor about you that like you're really making an entrance. You know, very people are very receptive to your presence right now, which makes you feel very good. It's like, you know, Pisces is so dependent on attention and the emotions that it feels around it. You know, it's so empathic. And so this is like when you're being cheered on, you know, like people are excited you're getting to the finish line, and you've got kind of the crowd going with you. And so that feels really good. This is also a great time for you guys to start learning some stuff. You know, Mercury in Scorpio is challenging what we know, what we've learned maybe in early schooling, and releasing some of that outdated stuff. And you're like, oh, wow, like actually, you know, like this is what it's really like. And so we get some perspective, but I think ultimately this is a very fun energy and not necessarily as serious. And so you guys are making light of this transit and just be like, oh, you know what? There's some time for some play or adventure, or, you know, some sightseeing and some sort of exploring, you know, just kind of soaking up this fall energy before we get into winter time. So good things there. So I think that's it for everybody. I think, you know, if you're looking back to the last couple of weeks, any connections that you made may have been hard to maintain. You know, if there was a lot of communication snafus, it doesn't mean that the people are going to be leaving your life. That means that now this is how things would be normally going into mid-November. So, you know, hopefully you haven't like pushed anyone away because of that or anything like that, but it's also very natural too in Mercury retrograde. But it's just nice to get back on track with things and to not have to follow up on emails and more back and forth. And sometimes whenever I look at Mercury energy, I'm just like, just look for simplicity. Make it as simple as possible. Because it can get very convoluted. It can overthink. There's a lot of anxiety that comes with Mercury energy. And so if you look for the simplest version of something, that's usually where you'll find success, you know. And when Mercury is going direct again, you know, it opens up that opportunity so that we can think and speak as we're thinking and speaking, you know what I mean? Like we're not second guessing ourselves, all that stuff. So there should be a lot less hiccups in conversations and misunderstandings, and social media stuff should be, you know, easier, especially once we get past the election in a few days. Hopefully it's in a few days. And yeah, so some great hopes. But again, Mercury and Scorpio, we are evolving, and that's not an easy process. So it will behoove you to take the challenges that are coming your way and to change how you look or perceive something. And just be like, you know what, I really don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to learn. You know, can you show me? Like, try to take on that mindset of not being offended by not knowing how to carry on the conversation, using it as an opportunity to evolve and to be like, oh, I didn't know about that. What is that? You know, kind of a thing. And so be curious, because I think it's really supporting us in broadening, expanding before we get into Mercury Sag, which is really going to be doing some of that stuff. So exciting things. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. And yeah, let me know if you guys want to see anything specific. I have more of these coming up, but I'm always open to trying something new. So take care.